What if Belly isn't in love with Conrad at all but in love with the dream she made of him? Belly's story begins like many first summers of the heart: bright sand, salt in the air, and a boy who has lived in her mind for years. Conrad is not new to her. He is the memory she grew up with, a face that sat in the front row of her daydreams. When she says she loves him, it sounds like a promise she has been practicing since she was young. She has stacked small moments into a tower glances across the porch, inside jokes, the way he once handed her a sweatshirt when she was cold, and now that tower looks like love. But a tower built from memories can be shaky when real life leans on it. The moment Belly steps into a summer where everything finally seems possible, the fantasy meets the real Conrad, quiet, guarded, carrying storms he never names. She can feel the difference between the story in her head and the person in front of her, and that feeling is where doubt begins. Conrad is handsome and calm on the outside, but he moves like a tide, in and out, close and then far, warm and then distant. Belly tells herself this mystery makes him special. It also makes him hard to hold. When he turns away, she chases. When he looks back, she freezes, afraid to break the spell. She mistakes waiting for devotion and silence for depth. In this space of guessing, she writes meaning onto pauses that might just be pauses. And then there is Jeremiah, light where Conrad is shadow, open where Conrad is closed. Jeremiah makes her laugh in a way that doesn't cost her anything. With him, she does not have to prove she is grown. She can just be. This contrast is not a side note. It is a mirror. When she feels safe with Jeremiah, she notices how much she is working to feel seen by Conrad. When she feels pulled to Conrad, she notices how strong nostalgia can be. Between them, Belly stands in a doorway. One side is the wish she held for years. The other side is a feeling that actually shows up. She wants to choose with her whole heart, but her heart is split between past and present. She tries to read signs, how Conrad's eyes soften when he thinks no one's watching, how Jeremiah doesn't make her guess what he feels, but signs are not answers. Her friends say love is simple. If you know, you know. Belly does not know. She tries to tell herself that confusion is still love, just love in progress. Yet the more she says it, the more the words feel like a sweater that does not fit. She pulls at the sleeves, hoping they will stretch. Under all the noise sits a quiet truth. The idea of Conrad arrived before Conrad did. She loves the timeline she imagined, the years of waiting, the first kiss that would prove the waiting was worth it, the story she could tell about a love that grew up with her. But love is not a prize at the end of patience. Love is a person who looks back at you, steady and clear. On the days Conrad can't be steady, Belly has to decide if she is loving him or rescuing the dream she wrote for them both. That is why her feelings wobble when he pulls away and surge when he returns. It is not only him she misses in those gaps. It is the version of herself who finally got the thing she always wanted. When she sits alone at night, listening to the house settle, she can admit a hard thought. If love were only about history, the choice would be easy. But love is also about today, and today she is not sure. She is not sure if her heart reaches for his because it knows him, more because it is scared to let go of the picture that once kept her company. So she stays between two truths. Conrad is the boy of her summers, and he is also a boy she is still trying to meet. And until she can tell the difference between dream love and real love, her I love you will come with a question mark she cannot quite hide. The thing about Conrad is that he is both an answer and a riddle. For years, Belly thought she already knew everything about him, the favorite songs he hummed under his breath, the quiet way he disappeared into books, the curve of his smile that made her feel like summer itself was grinning back. But when the moment finally arrives, when the fantasy becomes reality, she discovers that the boy she had built in her head is not always the same as the one standing in front of her. Conrad is layered, complicated, and sometimes unreachable. And it is in those unreachable spaces that Belly begins to wonder if what she feels is love or if it is longing for the idea she grew up holding onto. This is where her certainty starts to slip, where the heart that once shouted his name now whispers it in question. Conrad has this way of pulling her close without words, as if his silence is a magnet. She leans toward him, hoping to find safety in the quiet, but often finds herself lost instead. Love, she thought, would be steady, an anchor to the storm. Yet Conrad often feels like the storm itself. He comes with moods he doesn't explain, walls he cannot climb, and a kind of distance that dares her to chase him. Belly tells herself that this is passion, that the ache in her chest when he drifts away is proof of how deeply she cares. But sometimes pain is not passion. Sometimes it is just emptiness dressed up as love. When she laughs too loudly around him or waits for him to notice her new dress, the smallest delay in his gaze cuts deeper than she wants to admit. These are not just teenage doubts. These are signs that the picture she painted of him is far brighter, far clearer than the real boy who stands in shadow. And yet, there are moments when Conrad looks at her with eyes that soften the world. Moments that make her believe all over again. When he does open up, when he lets slip a rare smile or shares a secret thought, it feels like the universe finally saying yes to everything she has ever wanted. These moments are powerful, almost intoxicating, because they confirm the dream she has been carrying since childhood. But that is the very problem. The highs are so high, the lows are so low, and in between, Belly is left dangling. Love should not feel like waiting for rain in a drought. But that is how it feels with Conrad, parched silence broken only by sudden, fleeting showers of affection. Her confusion grows sharper when Jeremiah steps into the frame. Jeremiah does not leave her guessing. He doesn't wait for the right time to show he cares, he simply does. He makes her laugh, asks her questions, pays attention to the small shifts in her mood. Around him, Belly does not have to hope for signs. The signs are clear and constant. It is this contrast that begins to gnaw at her. If love with Conrad is meant to be, why does it feel so different from the way Jeremiah makes her feel? If her heart is loyal to Conrad, why does it flutter so easily when Jeremiah simply shows up? These questions swirl in her chest like waves, crashing against the fragile shore of her certainty. Belly tries to reason with herself. Maybe love is not supposed to be simple. Maybe the mess, the tension, the unanswered questions are all part of what makes it real. After all, stories always told her that first love comes with fire, with struggle, with nights spent staring at the ceiling wondering if he feels the same. But then she wonders if she is clinging to the story more than the person. What if she is more in love with the narrative girl grows up, girl wins the boy she has always wanted than with the boy himself? It is a question she cannot say out loud, because saying it would mean admitting that she has built a castle of hope on ground that might not hold. Every time Conrad retreats, Belly runs after him. And every time she catches him, she feels both victorious and exhausted. This push and pull is not balance. It is a test. She begins to realize that her heart is working harder than it should, stretching itself thin just to hold on to him. Love should expand you, not shrink you, yet she often feels smaller in his silence. It is this quiet truth she does not want to face, the truth that love should not always feel like a question. Still, she cannot let go, because when Conrad does look at her, when he does whisper her name, it feels like the summer sun has chosen only her. And maybe, just maybe, that fleeting warmth is enough to keep her waiting. But the real question lingers, unspoken and heavy. Is Belly truly in love with Conrad? Or is she in love with the dream that loving Conrad promises? The answer hides between their moments, in the pauses that stretch too long, in the sighs that say too little. And until she is brave enough to face it, Belly will keep walking the thin line between memory and reality. Between a love that feels destined and a love that feels uncertain. There is a reason first love feels like fire. It burns bright, it warms, but it also blinds. For Belly, Conrad is that fire. The problem is, she has never stopped to ask if the flame is meant to keep her safe or just to keep her chasing its glow. In the third layer of her journey, what makes her uncertainty so sharp is not only Conrad's distance, but also the way she sees herself when she is with him. Around Conrad, Belly feels both grown and small, both desired and invisible. That contradiction is what shakes her confidence. If love is meant to reveal who we are, then why does Belly's reflection keep changing depending on whether Conrad turns toward her or away? Every time Conrad lets her in, even slightly, Belly imagines she is finally standing in the story she dreamed of. His touch lingers longer than it should. His eyes soften for a second, and in those moments she feels chosen. But the moments never last. The very next day he can shut down, vanish into silence, or distract himself with worries he won't share. Belly tries to tell herself this is because he's complicated, because he feels things deeply but doesn't know how to say them. Yet a small voice inside her whispers that maybe he just doesn't feel them for her in the way yes. She remembers nights where she practiced his name like a secret spell, waiting for the day it would unlock his heart. She thought the waiting was part of the romance that patience would be rewarded. But love is not a prize at the end of longing, and patience is not always devotion. Sometimes patience is just self-denial dressed up as hope. When Conrad retreats, Belly fills the gaps with her own imagination. She convinces herself that his silence means more than it does, that the storm inside him is proof of depth rather than distance. It is a dangerous kind of love, one where she does more of the work than he does. And she begins to feel the weight of it. This is where Jeremiah becomes more than just the other option. His presence is a reminder that love can be easy. With Jeremiah, she doesn't feel like she is auditioning for affection. She doesn't wait for signs or analyze pauses. He gives her laughter without cost, kindness without mystery, and attention without her having to beg for it. She feels seen not because she fought for it, but because Jeremiah chooses to see her. This difference makes her question everything she thought she knew about love. If Conrad is the great love of her life, why does it hurt so much more than it heals? If she is destined for him, why does another boy's hand feel like a safer place to rest? And yet, Belly cannot let go of Conrad. Nostalgia is powerful. It ties her heart to summers past, to nights filled with fireflies and daydreams, to a younger version of herself who believed love was supposed to look like this. To turn away from Conrad now feels like betraying not only him, but also the girl she once was. She clings to him as if letting go would mean all those years of waiting, all those summers of longing, were wasted. That is the chain that keeps her from moving forward, the fear that her love was only ever a story she told herself. As the tension builds, Belly's heart becomes a battlefield. On one side stands Conrad, the dream she chased for years, the mystery she longs to solve. On the other side stands Jeremiah, the reality that love can be simple and steady. She doesn't know which path will lead to happiness, but she does know that the longer she avoids choosing, the more she feels the split inside her widen. It is this split, this fracture, that shows the truth. Belly is not sure she loves Conrad. Not in the way she thought. Not in the way love should feel. But here is the cruel part: uncertainty does not erase affection. Belly still feels drawn to Conrad, still feels her pulse quicken when he brushes past her, still feels like the world tilts when his hand finds hers. These sparks are real, but sparks alone cannot keep a fire burning. She is starting to see that now. She is starting to see that maybe what she feels is not full love, but the shadow of it, a longing for what could be rather than what is. And that realization terrifies her. Because if it's true, then her whole idea of love has to be rewritten. So she lingers in the in-between, unsure of herself, unsure of him, unsure of what the word love really means. Maybe she does love Conrad, or maybe she just loves the version of Conrad that exists in her imagination. Maybe she loves the story more than the boy. And until she finds the courage to answer that question, every "I love you" that passes her lips will feel like a gamble, heavy with doubt. Waiting for a truth she's not ready to face. Love is supposed to be an answer. But for Belly, it has become a question she cannot escape. By the time the summer reaches its breaking point, her heart feels stretched thin between memory and reality, between what she once believed and what she now sees with painful clarity. Conrad is no longer just the boy she wanted. He is the boy she cannot quite figure out, the boy who carries a silence so heavy that it drowns out the words she needs to hear. And in that silence, Belly begins to hear her own doubts echo back at her. This final stretch of her story is not about choosing Conrad or Jeremiah. It is about confronting the truth that she may not fully know what love is yet. And that not knowing is its own kind of heartbreak. The world around her is changing. She is older now, stepping into a version of herself that notices things she once ignored. She sees how her hands tremble when she waits for Conrad to speak, how her chest tightens when his answers come late, how her joy feels dependent on his moods. That is not freedom. It is a tether. She used to think being tied to someone was what made love real, but now she wonders if real love might be the opposite, something that gives her room to breathe, to laugh, to feel whole without fear. The irony is that Jeremiah shows her glimpses of that freedom, while Conrad keeps her locked in a cycle of hope and disappointment. But she cannot dismiss Conrad entirely, because her history with him is stitched into every memory of her growing up. To doubt her love for him feels like doubting her own childhood. In the still moments late at night, when the house creaks and the ocean hums outside her window, Belly replays everything. She remembers the first time she thought Conrad might see her differently, the first brush of his hand, the way her name sounded in his voice. Those memories glow like lanterns. But then she remembers the distance, the way he avoided her eyes when things got hard, the times he pulled away without explanation. Those shadows fall over the lanterns, dimming them, reminding her that memory is not the same as love. Memory is safe because it does not argue back. Love is harder. It requires presence, consistency, courage. And she is not sure Conrad is ready to give her any of those things. This realization does not come like thunder. It creeps in slowly, the way dawn breaks soft at first, then undeniable. Belly begins to see that what she feels for Conrad might be a kind of half-love, powerful, intoxicating, but incomplete. She has been filling in the blanks of his silence with her own imagination, carrying the weight of two hearts when only one was really being offered. The question is not whether she loves him, it is whether he has given her enough to love. And if he hasn't, then is it fair to keep pretending? Is it fair to keep telling herself that her uncertainty is just part of being young when deep down she knows it's more than that? Her uncertainty is a mirror, showing her what she craves in love: honesty, presence, reciprocity. With Conrad, she has gotten pieces of those things, but never the whole. With Jeremiah, she has tasted a different kind of love, one that asks less and gives more. And so Belly finds herself at the edge of a choice, not between two brothers, but between two versions of herself. One version clings to the dream, afraid to let it go. The other steps forward, ready to admit that dreams can change, that love is not less beautiful when it is different from what she imagined. The truth is, Belly may never stop caring for Conrad. First loves are carved into the heart in ways that never truly fade. But caring for someone and building a life with them are not the same thing. What she has to face now is the possibility that Conrad is not her forever, but her beginning, the boy who taught her how messy and complicated love can be, and the boy who showed her that wanting someone is not the same as being sure of them. That lesson is painful, but it is also powerful. Because once she accepts it, Belly can finally step into a love that is not built on uncertainty, but on choice. So when we ask, how do we know Belly isn't sure if she loves Conrad? The answer is hidden in every hesitation, every glance toward Jeremiah, every sigh that follows Conrad's silence. It's in the way she clings to memories more than moments, in the way she loves the idea of him more than the man himself. Belly's heart is not lying, it is learning. And maybe that is what makes her story resonate. The reminder that sometimes not being sure is the first step toward discovering what love truly means.